And here he is joining us now, as Paul mentioned, attorney Ed Matthews, specializing in estate planning, and appreciate you joining us. And we just got to get this out of the way right away. You told me about the personal connection we have, and it's like, that's right. So this was years ago. You lived right down the street from my parents in Woodbury.
Right, Gordy and Jan, wonderful people. I'd never met you until about an hour ago, Rob.
Yeah.
But your parents were very proud of you, and they dog sat for us a couple times when I was in law school.
And I remember
William Mitchell.
I remember them having your dog at their house on occasion when they lived in that was the Evergreen neighborhood out there. Randy Meyer at one point lived right near there in that same neighborhood. I remember.
Maybe I should have stayed there.
When I was a young TV journalist, and I'm like, oh, there's Randy Meyer mowing the lawn. Wow. Now I work with the guy. It's kind of weird, coming full circle. So,
or he works with you. I mean, depending on how you look at it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's Randy. He's still an idol. But anyway, so nice to have you here, and the joy that your dog brought my parents for all the times they dog sat your dog.
Rusty was a wonderful dog.
Yeah, but as a lawyer now in estate planning, and that's the only thing you do.
Exactly.
Wills and estate planning.
Wills and trust planning.
Yep. And you were watching, paying attention to this trial last week, and your immediate thought was, wow, there's a lot of this that could have been avoided.
It all could have been avoided, and it all would have been avoided if Rod Mitchell had taken just a few hours to work with a competent estate planning attorney and document his wishes, both what he wanted to have happen while he was alive and what he wanted to have happen after he passed away. And
So, I mean, even to the extent of, say, these burglary charges were based on the fact of her going into this home, saying she was there to get some mementos. That's what she said. Then she said later that she was there for a welfare check. But either way, how would have an estate plan headed that situation off if she was there to get shirts and pictures, etc.?
Regardless of whether a client sets up a will or a trust, it's very common to attach what we call a personal property memorandum to that document.
Okay.
And that the client can specify these items go to these people, these items go to these people, and you can be as specific or as general as you would like. And in this case, Rod Mitchell could have said, a couple of my flannel shirts are going to go to my daughter for her sons, and this fishing gear is going to go to my buddy Al that I used to always fish with. There's healthcare directive.
Sure.
We'll get to the whole issue of the ashes.
Yeah.
In the healthcare directive, you can specify if you'd like a funeral, if you'd like a cremation, and then how you would like your remains disposed of. If you want those distributed, spread in a lake somewhere out west. He could have spelled all this out, and I would like to think a lot of this could have been avoided.
No, and when people think about having documents like that, having a will, trust, etc., it sounds overwhelming and potentially complicated. But you're saying it could be, or you could at least start with something that's extraordinarily simple and is not an overwhelming thing.
Exactly. It doesn't need to be overwhelming, Rob. And it sounds like in Rod Mitchell's case, he had a pretty modest estate. Mm-hmm. He owned a house, probably, I assume, in joint tenancy with Carol Mitchell. That would have gone to her automatically. Well, what he should have done is have 3 basic documents in place: a financial power of attorney, a healthcare directive, and a will or a trust to specify what property he wanted to go to who after he passed away, whether it be flannel shirts and fishing bobbers, or perhaps more applicable to this situation, the money he was going to be receiving from his sister when she passed away.
Okay.
He didn't have to leave all. There's no right or wrong in estate planning. Clients can do whatever they would like. He could have specified, the majority of it went to his widow, but he remembers his daughter and his grandsons in some capacity.
Do you see, though, sometimes too, it is simple as, and I'll see if you recommend this or not, but say people just divide it up by percentages, rather than specifics. They say 50% goes to here and 50% to there, or maybe I want to leave 25% to my church and the other 75% is divvied up by these people and his. I mean, can it be that simple, or does that leave too much unknown that can still lead to further problems?
In my experience, Rob, it's about two-thirds, one-third. About 2/3 of people will use hard percentages.
Okay.
Some people will say, I want $50,000 off the top to go to my grandchildren's college education.
Okay.
And then the rest is split between my my wife and my daughter from my first relationship. So it's really every estate plan, and what we pride ourselves on at our firm is customizing the estate plan to the particular client's situation, their family situation, their asset situation, and what they have going on with regards to their children.
So if it's split up with percentages, for example, is it then, do you then designate who figures out how to value everything and how to split it, or is that still left open-ended?
Well, with regards to a will, there'll be an executor appointed. With regards to a trust, there'll be a successor trustee appointed.
Okay.
And that person doesn't really have much discretion unless you wanted to leave them a lot of discretion. You try to spell things out in as much detail as you believe is appropriate, and then the executor follows those wishes. I refer to it as kind of a cookbook.
Okay.
You know, the cookbook spells out a cup of this and a dash of that, and the cook really, they can, add a couple other things if they'd like, but for the most part, it's set in stone.
Okay, I mean, so I guess what I'm thinking is that you say you kind of like leave it open-ended because you don't know where to direct things. But that can potentially lead to conflict among family members all fighting for, I want the boat, or I want so is it just, as you counsel people, do you base it on their individual situation about whether you think it's okay to leave it open-ended and they can figure out how to sort out the actual properties?
We don't recommend that, Rob. We spend a lot of time meeting with our clients in detail, talking about what's important to their family. Do they have a second cabin property? Who's coming there? Who's going to take care of it? We tell clients, don't leave things to chance. This is your chance to determine your legacy, spell things out in as much detail as you want. Your kids might not like it, but they're going to respect it, and that respect is what oftentimes will preserve family harmony.
Okay, so to simplify this, what's step number one? I mean, how do you, again, to take away the sort of overwhelming or maybe intimidating process that this sounds, what's just the stress-free way to begin this?
Just take inventory. Take inventory of what your family looks like. Are you an original marriage situation with children all of the same relationship? Are you a blended family? Do you have children with disabilities or special needs? So really take a good hard look at your family and think about their decision-making processes, what their lives are going to look like when you're gone, and then do an inventory of your assets, and then of course work with a qualified estate planning attorney that can give you good advice.
I mean, how many legal documents are we talking about having to draft and go through? I mean,
well, it depends on each client's situation, and every client's situation is unique, but we recommend that clients at a bare minimum, they have a financial power of attorney, a healthcare directive, and a will or a trust.
Okay. How long does this process take? Or can it take?
I've turned around estate plans in a couple days, and I've turned around estate plans, in a couple months, depending on the complexity of the situation and how many moving parts we have. But I just tell clients, one of my favorite expressions is, if you want shade tomorrow, you need to plant a tree today, and there's no better day to plant a tree than today. So if you want to get going on your estate planning, today is the day to do it, because as we know from the weather reports and COVID and everything going on, all these crazy murders in the Twin Cities, tomorrow is not promised to any of us, and it's important to get a good plan in place. You can change it any time, but it's important to have your wishes written down and documented.
All right. Ed, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.
I'll tell my parents hi. I'm sure they'll have stories, I'm sure.
Wonderful folks.
About Rusty. They moved to an apartment, but they're still out in Woodbury. So, all right, thanks so much.